Alright, so welcome to the session, and I hope all of you guys are doing good. So let's get started with today's session. Again, as we planned, we'll try to solve two questions and we'll try to understand how we can approach for these questions. If time permits, we'll try to solve three or more questions as well. So here is the first problem statement. So most popular client for calls. Callbridge wants to identify the most engaged client based on how users interact with core real-time features. A user is considered engaged if 50% or more of their events are from video call received, video call sent, voice call received, and voice call sent. The goal here is count users per client ID who meet this threshold. Find the client ID with the highest number of such users. This helps Callbridge pinpoint which client drives the most real-time user activity. So that is the requirement, and the data set which we have is user events, and this is the table. So ID, time ID, user ID, customer ID, client ID, desktop, event ID, and event type, right? So if I go back to the problem statement, Callbridge wants to identify the most engaged client based on how users interact with the core real-time features. A user is considered engaged if 50% or more of their events are from these four features. Count user per client ID who meet this threshold and find the client ID with the highest number of such users. This helps Callbridge pinpoint which client drives the most real-time user activity. Now, how to approach this? We'll again break this problem statement to multiple steps and we'll try to solve this particular problem statement. It will be a bit bigger query, which we will write. So let's start with the first part. Where in the step number 1, I will get the total number of events for each user, right? So step 1 will be total events for each user. So my user ID is there and I will get the count. So basically I'll get the count for each user ID, what all counts coming in. So select user ID, comma, count star. That is your total events from user events group by user ID. So that is going to give me the number of events for every user. Now, my interest are on 4 different types of events. If I go back to my events data, I am looking for, there are a lot of other events as well. API message received, file received, and so on. But my interest is only on these 4 events. That is video call received, video call sent, voice call received, and voice call sent. So I want only those counts, right? Rather than just going with all the counts, my interest is to get only those counts. So for that, I will add one extra filter on this. Get number of call events for each user. So query will be exactly the same. The only thing is that I will add one where condition, where event type in. I'll pass all those 4 values which I am interested in. That is voice call received, video call received. sorry, not started. We are looking for what? Video call sent, video call received. So voice call received is also part. Yes, voice call received. Received and sent is what I am interested in, not the started, right? So video call received is done. Sorry, voice call received is done. Video call received will be coming in. And received and sent. So I have to look for sent. If we have any. We'll apply the value. Let's see if it is there. So video call sent and voice call sent, right? So here you can see some numbers coming in. The number of events coming for every user, right? If I just focus on this part, let me just check it out whether these values are there or not. I think only voice call received and video call received is there. So that is fine. Where event type is this. Received, received, received. Only video and voice call received is there. There is no sent. So that's okay. They don't have that information. So that is fine. So these are the numbers which we are getting. Now I'll go to the next step. Find the most used client ID per user. So now what we'll do here is I will introduce this client ID as well. That is your desktop or mobile. From select user ID, client ID, count star as CNT, comma rank over partition by user ID, order by count star. As rank from user events. Group by user ID, client ID. Right. What this query is doing, let's try to understand. First of all, let's run this inner part and let's see what it is doing. So here you can see that you are getting certain user ID, client ID, count of your this thing, right? Client ID. Because we are grouping by an user ID and client ID. So basically this guy had a video call or voice call, whatever it is, from desktop 3 times and from mobile 2 times. Same way for this guy, had a mobile video call or voice call, whatever it is 4 times and using desktop 1 time, and so on and so forth. So for that individual user, I am ranking, right? So these are the 2 entries. So I'm getting rank 1 and 2. These are the 2 entries. I am giving rank 1 and 2 based on number of times the count is more, getting the rank as higher. So that is the information I'm getting. And after that, I am looking for only rank equal to 1. So when I run this entire query, I will get the top ranked. Let me call the rank here as well, R and K. So I am getting only top ones, right? So this guy is frequently logging from desktop. This guy is frequently logging from mobile. This guy is frequently logging from desktop, and so on, so forth. So basically find the most user client ID per user. Find the most used client ID per user, right? So that is going to give me the highest number of logins either from the mobile or from the desktop. And if I come back to the problem statement, Callbridge wants to identify the most engaged client based on how users interact with core real-time features. A user is considered engaged if more than 50% or more in events from this, that is fine. 50% condition we will maybe apply later on. As of now, it's not there. We'll apply that. And count user per client ID who meet this threshold. Find the client ID with the highest number of such users, right? So as of now, the main problem is not yet solved, but as of now, what we did, we found out the highest count for every user ID, which type of machine or which type of client they are using, right? Now, what we'll do, we'll finalize this query with all the other features as well, and then we'll go ahead and we'll solve this entire problem statement. So what I will do here is I'll combine all these three things together in a single query. Let's create a CTE here. So with total events as select, let's call those queries. So this is my first query, which I'll put here. Call events as, I'll put this second query inside this. Client mapping as the third query which we have written. I'll put it here. Now we'll apply the main condition. So user call ratio as select user ID, comma total events. If null, call events, comma 0 as call events client ID, comma round. If null, call events, comma 0 divided by total events. I want in 2 decimal places as call ratio from total events T left outer join call events C on T dot user ID. I'll explain this query if you are not understanding. Give me a second. C dot user ID inner join client mapping on T dot user ID is equal to CM dot user ID. Select. Here I also give the aliases so that the query will not fail. T dot C dot C dot T dot. Select client ID from a count of user ID as user count from user call ratio, where call ratio is more than 50%, group by client ID, order by user count DSC. So some error is there. Let's fix this first and we'll understand. User call ratio does not exist. User call ratio. C dot call events and field list. Call events is coming from here. Call event. This, let me call it as call events. T dot user ID on clause. C dot user ID. User ID. Desktop one. User account one. Okay. So this is the query. Let's try to understand this step by step. Just give me a second. So this is our data set. Let's put the column as well, ID time ID. These are some of the complex queries. That's why it's looking a bit difficult. And I am only picking up the complex queries, not the simple ones. Client ID, event type, event ID. Okay, so this is my data set. So now let's get into the query. The first query which we have written, I'll go to the main query which we have written. So select user ID, comma count star from as total events from user events group by user ID. Right. So basically for every user, I am getting the count. Let me run this query, and whatever information I am getting in, let me copy this. We are breaking this query into multiple steps and trying to understand it. So this is my user ID and count. Okay. This the count. Basically from this table, you are counting on this and getting the total number of records for every user. That is the first query. Now second query is, we are only looking for voice call received, video call received, and all those things. So when I am running this particular query, I am getting this set of information, which is my second query, right? Second CT. That is your user ID and call events, right? This was the total events. मतलब उसने कॉल के अलावा भी कुछ किया होगा तो सारी एंट्री यहाँ पर आ रही है, बट यहाँ पर क्या आ रही है, यहाँ पे सिर्फ कॉल इवेंट्स आ रही है, राइट? ऑल द कॉल इवेंट्स, वॉइस कॉल और वीडियो कॉल, व्हाटएवर इट इज फॉर दैट पर्टिकुलर यूजर. Now client mapping. Now here what are we doing? Here we are finding the top ones. Basically for if you see here, this particular client mapping is getting data from where? From the user event only. That is your main table, right? I am not using this CT. I am not using this CT. I am using the user main table only. So I am getting this information, which is giving me the number of events. If I go and see this, right? Find the most used client per user. तो चाहे उसने कॉल किया हो, चाहे उसने, यहाँ पे हमने फिल्टर नहीं लगा रखा है, तो उसने कॉल किया हो, कुछ भी किया हो, वो कौन सा ज्यादा यूज कर रहा है क्लाइंट, इधर ही इज यूजिंग डेस्कटॉप और ही इज यूजिंग द लैपटॉप or mobile, whatever. So this is the information I am getting for every user. I am not restricting on any user, right? I am doing for all the users, जितने भी users हैं. So this is my client mapping, third table. And rank. This is my client mapping table. Let's keep the name here. This is my call event table, because यहाँ पे सारे call events ही हैं, right? And this is my total events table. Right? If you go back to your query, so I have the total event, call event, and client mapping. So these are the three tables which we have created in the CT. Now let's go to the last one, user call ratio. Now what we are saying is that T dot user ID, T is what? T is nothing but my total event table. That means this table. So T dot user ID, T dot total events, C dot call events. That means we are taking this guy also, right? And client ID, that is your this guy. Client ID is coming from CM. You can see here. Client ID is coming from CM. You can pass CM also, that is fine. That is a CM table, client mapping table. तो हम ये चार कॉलम ले रहे हैं, this, and this. कंडीशन क्या लगा रहे हैं? ये सब राउंड वाउंड तो सिंपल है, इसमें कोई ज्यादा दिक्कत नहीं है, यहाँ पे चलते हैं। टोटल इवेंट्स दैट इज दिस टेबल लेफ्ट आउटर ज्वाइन, राइट? दिस टेबल इज माई लेफ्ट टेबल. So total events, left outer join, call events. So this table joins with this table. So matching records will participate, and all the records from this table will participate, right? All the records from the left table and matching from the right table. So for example, this guy joins with this guy, right? So you will get the 2 and 5. And that makes sense. क्योंकि देखो यहाँ पर क्या होगा, हमको वही रिकॉर्ड्स मिलेगा जिसका, हमें कॉल इवेंट्स का वही रिकॉर्ड्स मिलेगा जहां पे तुम्हारा ये होगा, क्या बोलते हैं, कॉल किया होगा बंदे ने, राइट? ये तो तुम्हारे सारे इवेंट्स हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल ये वाला बंदा है 3668. लेट मी हाईलाइट दिस गाय एंड लेट मी हाईलाइट दिस गाय हियर, राइट? तो अब ये 3668 वाले ने 11 इवेंट्स करे हुए हैं, बट उसमें से तुम्हारा कॉल इवेंट एक ही है. एक बार जाके चेक करके देखते हैं, राइट? सो लेट्स गो टू सिलेक्ट स्टार फ्रॉम यूजर इवेंट्स वेयर यूजर आईडी. चलो यहाँ पे कर लेते हैं ना, एक्सेल में पड़ा डेटा हमारे पास, यहाँ कर लेते हैं. चलो, आई एम लुकिंग फॉर दिस गाय. सो उसको कॉपी करके लेट मी अप्लाई द फिल्टर आउट हियर एंड लेट मी सिलेक्ट दिस गाय, राइट? तो उसके कितने इवेंट्स हैं? इसके टोटल 11 इवेंट्स हैं. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11. अब 11 में से कॉल कितना है? कॉल तो एक ही है, वीडियो कॉल, राइट? बाकी सारा तुम्हारा वॉइस कॉल स्टार्टेड है. मुझे स्टार्टेड में काम नहीं करना है, मुझे रिसीव्ड और सेंड में काम करना है. तो रिसीव्ड और सेंड वाला तो एक ही बंदा है, राइट? एक ही रिकॉर्ड है. Am I audible to all of you guys? Are you able to hear me? Check your connection, Priyanka. Okay. So I have to focus on this guy, the video call received, right? And वही हमारा count एकदम सही बैठ रहा है. If you see here, total events for this guy is 11 and one is what? This guy is having the call event. Okay. So let's go back to the query which we have created. और ये वाला call event यहाँ पे हमने नल क्यों रखा है? बिकॉज लेफ्ट आउटर ज्वाइन मारा है. तो फॉर एग्जाम्पल लेट्स से यहाँ पे जो बंदा है वो यहाँ पर, और आई कैन से यहाँ पर जो बंदा है वो यहाँ पर नहीं होगा, तो उसका कॉल इवेंट जीरो नल हो जाएगा, राइट? व्हाट इज लेफ्ट आउटर ज्वाइन? ऑल द रिकॉर्ड्स फ्रॉम दिस टेबल, ऑल द रिकॉर्ड्स फ्रॉम दिस टेबल and matching records from this table. Now for example, let's say this guy is not present there, let's assume. So for this particular guy the call event will be null, and if the call event will be null, make it 0. That is why you applied this if null condition. ठीक है, that is the reason. तो कॉल इवेंट जहां पे नल होगा डिवाइडेड बाय टोटल नंबर ऑफ इवेंट, यहां से मुझे परसेंटेज मिल जाएगा, राइट? आई एम गेटिंग द परसेंटेज हियर. सो आई एम गेटिंग द यूजर आईडी, टोटल इवेंट्स, कितना तुम्हारा कॉल इवेंट है, कौन सा तुम्हारा क्लाइंट आईडी है, उसके बाद तुम्हारा परसेंटेज कॉल रेशियो निकाल रहे हो तुम, आउट ऑफ टोटल इवेंट्स कितना तुम्हारा कॉल इवेंट है, ज्वाइनिंग विद ऑल द 3 टेबल्स, ये तुम्हारा आउटपुट आ जाएगा, राइट? तो इसका आउटपुट कैसा दिखेगा? इसका आउटपुट ऐसा दिखेगा, यूजर आईडी, टोटल इवेंट्स, कॉल इवेंट्स एंड तुम्हारा कॉल रेशियो, राइट? ये 4 कॉलम आ रहे हैं यहाँ पे, 1 2 3, क्लाइंट आईडी और कॉल, क्लाइंट आईडी भी आ जाएगा, क्लाइंट आईडी एंड कॉल रेशियो, right? These are the 5 columns you will get. So when I run this part of the query, when I run this query, obviously मेरी सारी ऊपर की queries भी included है, तो मुझे 5 कॉलम मिलेंगे. यूजर आईडी, सारे यूजर आईडी आएंगे, टोटल इवेंट सबके ये टोटल इवेंट आएंगे, कॉल इवेंट उन्हीं के आएंगे जो कॉल वाले हैं, और जो नहीं है उनके 0 हो जाएंगे, और क्लाइंट आईडी आ जाएगा, कौन से क्लाइंट आईडी से उन्होंने काम किया है. यहाँ पे ज्वाइन लग के यहाँ पे हमें टॉप क्लाइंट आईडी मिल रहा है यहाँ से, किसने डेस्कटॉप से ज्यादा किया है, एंड सो ऑन सो फोर्थ. और उसके बाद कॉल रेशियो आ जाएगा विच इज नथिंग बट दिस डिवाइडेड बाय दिस डिवाइडेड बाय दिस, राइट? So that information I will get here. यहां तक की क्वेरी क्लियर ऑल ऑफ यू? अप टिल दिस पॉइंट वी हैव डिस्कस्ड, आर यू गैस क्लियर विद इट? राइट? दिखने में कॉम्प्लेक्स है बट वी आर मेकिंग इट स्टेप बाय स्टेप एंड ट्राइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड इट व्हाट इज एक्चुअली गोइंग ऑन। नाउ ये सारी कहानी होने के बाद मेरे पास ये टेबल बचा। राइट? ये सारी कहानी होने के बाद मेरे पास ये टेबल फाइनली बचेगा। अब इस टेबल में हम लोग क्या बोल रहे हैं कि क्लाइंट आईडी चाहिए मेरे को, ये क्लाइंट आईडी चाहिए मेरे को, और काउंट ऑफ यूजर आईडी चाहिए मेरे को, काउंट ऑफ यूजर आईडी चाहिए मेरे को जिसका कॉल रेशियो 50% से ज्यादा है। राइट? तो बेसिकली हमको डेस्कटॉप का एक बंदा, एक यूजर काउंट एक मिल रहा है, मतलब कि ऐसा तुम्हारे पास एक बंदा होगा जो कि डेस्कटॉप से लॉग इन करा है और उसका कॉल इवेंट तुम्हारा 50% से ज्यादा होगा। राइट? वो हमने निकाला है। अगर तुमको बैक ट्रैक करना तुम बैक ट्रैक कर सकते हो। कौन सा बंदा हो सकता है वो? यहाँ आके देखो, बंदा इनमें से ही होगा। अब इनमें से भी कौन सा होगा? डेस्कटॉप वाला होगा। तो अगर मैं डेस्कटॉप वाले पे फिल्टर मारता हूँ, डेस्कटॉप के ये बंदे बचे हुए हैं। अब इन बंदे में से कोई एक बंदा होगा जिसका कॉल रेशियो 50% से ज्यादा होगा। हम लोग क्या करते हैं, इन सारे बंदों का कॉल रेशियो निकालते हैं। ठीक है? ये सारे बंदे लेते हैं, इसको यहां डालते हैं। ये सारे डेस्कटॉप वाले ही हैं। इनका हमको यहाँ से उठाना पड़ेगा, थोड़ा मैनुअली काम करना पड़ेगा। यही काम करते हैं, इसको फिल्टर में बना लेते हैं हम लोग सीक्वल पे। सीक्वल की फिल्टर बना क्वेरी बना लेते हैं। वेयर यूजर आईडी इन दीज यूजर्स। हमको सिर्फ ये जानना है कि डेस्कटॉप का एक ही बंदा है कि ज्यादा है। अपनी क्वेरी के हिसाब से एक ही बंदा होना चाहिए। राइट? तो ये मुझे सारे के सारे यूजर्स मिल जाएंगे। सिलेक्ट स्टार फ्रॉम दिस वेयर यूजर आईडी इन। क्यों नहीं चल रहा क्वेरी? व्हाट डिड आई मिस? वेयर यूजर आईडी इन, यूजर आईडी इन वेयर क्लॉज अननोन कॉलम। यूजर कौन से कॉलम में हो? क्या नाम दिया हमने? यूजर अंडरस्कोर आईडी। ओके, सो लेट्स रन दिस। तो ये सारे तुमको मिल रहे हैं बंदे। अब इसमें से हमको कॉल रिसीव वाले ही काम करने हैं, हाँ? तो हम लोग भी उठा लेते हैं। हम लोग सिर्फ चेक कर रहे हैं कि हमारा नंबर सही आ रहा है कि नहीं आ रहा है। क्वेरी तो मैंने पूरी समझा दी, आई एम जस्ट चेकिंग, क्रॉस वेरीफाइंग इट एंड दिस गाय। ठीक है, इसको लगाते हैं सॉर्टिंग। इसमें क्लाइंट आईडी भी डेस्कटॉप मार, बिकॉज डेस्कटॉप वाला बंदा था तो हम लोग क्लाइंट आईडी भी डेस्कटॉप मार देते हैं। तो ये सारे बंदे हैं। वीडियो कॉल, वॉइस कॉल, वट एवर कॉल वी हैव, दैट्स ओके। अब इनमें से हम लोग ये बंदा ढूंढना पड़ेगा अपने को। हम्म, इसकी काउंट ज्यादा दिख रही है। राइट? ये बंदा कितनी बार है? 1 2 3 4 5 6 बार है। 9237। ये वाला बंदा, ये लग रहा है मेरे को, ये वाला। परफेक्ट, ये बंदा है। तो इसकी टोटल इवेंट्स तुम्हारी 10 है, और तुम्हारी इसकी यहाँ पे इवेंट कितनी है? 6 है कॉल इवेंट्स। तो 6/10 कितना होता है? 60%, जो कि 50% से ऊपर है। तो ये वाला बंदा होगा, और उसने डेस्कटॉप से यहाँ पे तुम्हारी एंट्री आ रही होगी उसकी। ये, राइट? और कोई बंदा हो ही नहीं सकता। ये बंदा उठा दें, चलो इसकी 11 एंट्री है। इसका हमको वहां पे क्या एंट्री मिल रहा है कॉल इवेंट्स में? इसका कॉल इवेंट 9305 93, दो ही है, देखो दो एंट्री है, 2/11 इज लेस देन 50%, है ना। और कोई उठाते हैं, इसको उठाते हैं, ये 11 है, 3668, इसका एक ही एंट्री है, ये भी 5%, 50% से कम है। और कौन सा उठाना है बताओ। ये उठाते हैं 8091, 8091 तीन है, 3/11 इज अगेन लेस देन 50%, राइट। तुम सारे चेक करोगे, तुम्हें कोई बंदा नहीं मिलेगा, यही बंदा है जो कि 50% के ऊपर है, और इसका फेवरेट क्लाइंट आईडी डेस्कटॉप है। इफ आई गो बैक टू द प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट, एक बार फिर से रीड करते हैं। Colbridge wants to identify the most engaged client based on how users interact with their core real-time features. A user is considered engaged if 50% or more of their events are from this. 6 कॉल इवेंट्स थे आउट ऑफ टोटल इवेंट्स, तो 50% से ऊपर है। काउंट यूजर्स पर क्लाइंट who meet this threshold. Find the client with the highest number of such users. Find the client ID with the highest number of such users. तो एक ही क्लाइंट आईडी डेस्कटॉप है और कितना यूजर है, एक ही यूजर है। So we wanted to find the client ID and the total number of users और highest number of users. Highest user एक ही है, तो client और हमको desktop और वन करके आंसर आ रहा है। Is this problem making sense now, all of you? What we solved here? Okay. I hope this makes sense. Let's proceed to the next one. Let me get the data for the next one. I'll share these queries and all. Let me go to the next. In the next query, we have two tables. Let me just create first. Okay. Transactions and signups. These are the two tables. Now let's get into the problem. Again, we'll write the query, we'll break it into Excel, and then we'll understand what's going on. Find the most profitable location. Novacart, an e-commerce platform, wants to identify its most profitable customer locations based on user lifetime and spending behavior. To do this, the company needs to analyze the average sign-up duration in days per location, the average transaction amount per location, and the profitability ratio that is equal to average transaction amount upon average sign-up duration. The goal here is for each location compute the above matrix, identify which location have the highest spending per active day, sort results by the ratio in descending order. This insight will help Novacart target high-value regions for marketing, logistics, and customer engagement strategies. Right. So let's go and let's write the query first. Now, if I come back to the problem statement, I want average sign-up duration per location. Right. So the very first step which I will calculate is sign-up duration per user. Then I'll get into the location basis. So my first step will be calculate sign-up duration per user. Here you can see it. An e-commerce platform wants to identify its most profitable customer location based on user lifetime and spending behavior. So for user lifetime, I need to find the duration, sign-up duration. And then we'll calculate the spending behavior and we'll proceed further. So let's go and create the with clause with user lifetime as select user ID, comma location, comma date diff, Okay, before I write the query, I will just help you understand the table also. Sign-ups, right? So here you can see that we have the sign up ID, sign up start date, sign up stop date, plan ID, and location. The second table is transactions. And here I have the transaction ID, sign up ID, start date, and amount. Right? Sign up is your user. Sign up ID is your user. Wait, I think there is a problem. Give me a second. Mhm. Oops. Location, sign up ID, start date. I think table वाला issue है. It's not a correct table. Transaction start date. Stop. No, I think DDL गलत लिया है मैंने. Let me go to next problem. इसको मैं एक बार fix करूँगा. I think this needs to be fixed. इसमें user table I think missing है जो देना पड़ेगा. I'll just check it out. Let's go to the next one. Okay. Let's take this one. Lowest revenue generated restaurants. इसमें भी टेबल इश्यू है. आगे बढ़ते हैं. ये भी छोड़ो. चलो इस पे आते हैं. Sequel number 9. Few questions I will just check it out. There is some issue. Let me get into the. इसको करते हैं चलो. So WFM brand segmentation based on customer activity. एक मिनट बस इसको मैं जरा हाईलाइट कर दूं. WFM wants to segment customers across its store brands in 2017 based on their average basket size. Total sales divided by number of transactions. That is the basket size as per the formula. Segmentation criteria. If it is higher than $30, then it's gonna be high. If it is medium, that is $20 to $30. That is the average basket size I'm talking about, right? And if it is less than 20, then it is your what do you say, low, right? So average basket size is total sales by number of transactions. मतलब कि बास्केट साइज क्या होता है? फॉर एग्जांपल मैं रिटेल स्टोर गया 10 बार और मैंने 10 बार में 10,000 का सामान खरीदा, मतलब कि मैं एक बार में 1,000 रुपए का सामान खरीद रहा हूँ, राइट? सो माय बास्केट साइज इज 1,000 रुपीज पर ट्रांजेक्शन. सो सेम वे फॉर एवरी यूजर देयर विल बी अ बास्केट साइज, कि एक बार बंदा अगर मेरे स्टोर में आता है तो कितनी बार कितना पैसे का सामान खरीदता है, दैट इज योर बास्केट साइज, राइट? तो वही बोल रहा है कि अगर तुम्हारा बास्केट साइज 30 के ऊपर है तो हाई माना जाएगा, 20-30 के बीच में तो मीडियम माना जाएगा, एंड एल्स इट इज गोना बी लेस देन 20, इट्स लो, राइट? फॉर ईच स्टोर brand and segment, calculate number of unique customers, total transactions, total sales, average basket size. This will help WFM understand customer value distribution and guide targeted marketing strategies per brand, right? So that is the query which we have to write. So let's create the query and let's try to understand. So the first step which I will have, I will join my both the tables, that is the transaction tables and the stores tables, right? Transactions and stores. I will join that first. But before I join that, let me first explore what data we have. Star from WFM stores. So here you can see that we have the store ID, we have the store brand, and we have the location. Star from WFM transactions. And here you can see that we have the customer ID, store ID, transaction date, transaction ID, and your product ID and sales. These are the numbers which I have. Now I will connect the common column. What we have, store ID should be the common column. Here is the store ID and there also the store ID is there. So that is the common column which I have. And I am interested in the transactions of 2017, right? I don't care about 16. Only I am caring about 2017 because that is what they have expected in the problem statement. So let's join with joined data as select star from WFM underscore transactions T inner join WFM underscore stores S on T dot store ID is equal to S dot store ID, where year of transaction date is equal to 2017. In the star, I will choose the columns which I will need it. So I will need customer ID coming from transaction table. I will need store brand, which is coming from store table. I need transaction ID, which is coming from transaction table. I need transaction date. And I need sales, right? These are the columns which I want. And when I run my query outside, select star from joined data. So this is gonna give me the values. So here you can see that we have the brand name coming in, transaction ID coming in, your transaction date, and the sales amount coming in. Now I will aggregate this entire information, right? So basically, I will aggregate the total sales and transactions per customer per brand, right? If you go back to the problem, WFM wants to segment customers across its store brands in 2017 based on their average basket size. So basically, for every customer, for every brand, I want the average basket size, right? So let's do that. So I'll say customer matrices. So here I will select store brand, comma, customer ID and all the numbers. Count of distinct transaction ID as total transactions, comma, sum of sales as total sales, comma, sum of sales divided by count of distinct of transaction ID as my average basket size, right? From joined data. And obviously we'll apply the group by store brand and customer ID, right? And if I get out of this query and if I say select star from customer matrix, you can see that you are getting the store brand, the customer ID, the total transaction, the total sales, and this divided by this is this average basket size, right? And this is happening for every user, for every brand. So we got these numbers now. Now, once we got these numbers, I have to apply the segmentation, the bucketing, the segmentation criteria, right? So on this customer matrix only, the calculation further will happen. So customer segmentation as select all these columns which I want, right? So select store brand, customer ID, total transactions, total sales, average basket size, case when average basket size is greater than 30, then you are high. When average basket size between 20 and 30, then medium, else low. And segment from customer matrix, right? So if I say select star from customer segmentation, I will get that thing also. Select star from customer segmentation. So here you can see that we are getting the values. If it is 7 less than 20, right? So it is gonna be low. Above 20 and between 20, it's 20 to 30, it's medium, and rest is high. So that is looking fine. Now, once that is done, now what I have to do is I have to go ahead and I have to find out the uh, final summary, right? Basically, I want the brand, I want the segment, I want the number of customers present in that brand segment, total transactions I want to find out, total sales I want to find out, and total average basket size I want to find out based on every segment and brand. If you see here, for each store, brand, and segment, calculate these things, right? I already have the segment, I already have the brand. Now I have to calculate my maths for the grouping by these two columns, grouping by these two columns. So I'll get out of this query and I will write my final query. Select store brand, segment, count distinct customer ID, because what we are looking for, number of unique customer. So count distinct customer ID as num customers. Then what next you are looking for? Total transactions. That is your sum of total transactions, and total transactions coming from somewhere here, right? So I'll take sum of total transactions as my total transactions. Because in the above query, it was happening at the customer level, right? So we have to sum up this transactions. So we are summing it up here, comma, sum of total sales as total sales. Then your average basket size. And let me round it off as average basket size from customer matrix or customer segment, sorry, customer segmentation. Group by store and brand, store and segment, order by, right? So here you are getting the nice table structure where for every store and segment, I am getting the total number of customers, total number of transactions, total sales, and the average basket size, right? So you are getting this final table with all the information. So if I go back to the problem, WFM wants to segment customers across its store brands in 2017 based on their average basket size, that is total sales by number of transactions. Segmentation criteria will be if the basket size is 30 and above, it is your, or I can say above 30, it's high. Between 20 and 30, both are inclusive, it's medium, and less than 20 is gonna be low. For each store brand and segment, calculate the number of unique customers, total transactions, total sales, and average basket size. This will help WFM understand customer value distribution and guide targeted marketing strategies per brand, right? So now from here, I'll get a lot of information. How many customers are there? What all transactions are happening? What is the average basket size? Wherever the basket size is bigger, I can target more. Wherever the segment is higher, I will target more, right? So that type of information I can get it. Are you guys clear with this query, what we have written here? Any doubts on this? Let me know. Okay. Let's take one more query then. So here is the query, and let's write the query for the same. People First INC wants to analyze the range of employee tenure among its current workforce to understand retention trends. The goal is to identify the longest tenured and the least tenured employees based on hire date. Count how many employees share each of those tenures. Calculate the number of days between the earliest and the latest hire dates among current employees. This helps People First assess tenure diversity and design better retention or onboarding strategies. Right. So let's go and check the data what we have. So we have the first name, last name, ID, hire date, termination date, and the salary. So as per the problem, identify the longest tenured and least tenured employee based on the hire date. Right. So first of all, I will look for active employees. Right. Who are active employees? Who are having termination date as null. Second is, I will look for the extreme tenures. That means the guy with the minimum hire date and the guy with the maximum hire date. Once that is done, I will count on the employees which are equal to the minimum hire date. That is the how many employees are there, active employees are there, where the hire date is minimum hire date, and how many active employees are there where the hire date is maximum hire date. Right. I'll get the count of that. So least tenure count and longest tenure count. And once I have that, I will calculate the date difference of the latest hire date and the earliest hire date. And I will basically see the difference of days. Let's write the query, we'll understand. So first of all, I will find the active employees. Select star from employees where termination date is null, right? So these are my active employees. So select star from active employees. So these are my active employees. For them, the termination date is null. No employee has the termination date. All are nulls. Now in this particular data only, I will look for the maximum and minimum hire date. Tenure extremes. Tenure extremes as select minimum hire date like earliest hire, comma maximum hire date, that is your latest hire, from active employees, right? So now if I go and say select star from tenure extremes, I will get the minimum and maximum hire date. Minimum hire date is 2009, 3rd of February, and maximum hire date is 2019, 22nd of November. Right. We can check it out in your original data as well. In this data, let's click on this. So the maximum date is 22/11, and that is what I was getting, and minimum date should be 3rd of February. Let's we got that information. So tenure extreme we got, that is the minimum and the maximum dates. But now my interest is to get the counts as select count star from active employees where hire date is equal to select min of hire date from active employees. As longest tenure count, comma, I'll copy this only. And this is gonna be another select max least, right? And then select star from counts. So here you can see that I am getting three guys who are having the longest tenure and two guys with the least tenure. If you go and check your original data, you can check it out. So I have three people with the longest tenure, right? Same date they hired, and two people with the smallest tenure, same date they hired. And that is the information we got. Longest will be 3, least will be 2. But now in this, what I want is, I want select the longest tenure count, comma, least tenure count, comma, I want the difference, date difference. Date difference of what? I want the date difference of latest hire and higher extreme hire, right? Basically 3rd of February से लेके 22nd of November का difference चाहिए मेरे को, right? That is the count I'm looking for. So date difference of select latest hire from tenure extremes comma earliest, right? ये दोनों कॉलम को यहाँ से मिल रहा है, earliest hire and latest hire. So that is what I am getting here. These are my days between from counts. So here you can see that you are getting the longest tenure count and least tenure count and the number of days between those 2 days. That is your 3rd of February 2009 to 22nd of November 2019, roughly 10 years, right? 360 plus days, 3650 plus days. So you can see that 39 something. So that is the outcome they are looking for. If I go back to the problem statement, see this. People First INC wants to analyze the range of employees' tenure among its current workforce to understand retention among its current workforce, right? So basically all the active employees. Identify the longest tenured and least tenured employees based on hire date. We did that. Count how many employees share those tenures. We did that also. Calculate the number of days between the earliest and the latest hire days among the current employees. This helps People First assess tenure diversity and design better retention or onboarding strategies. Right. So exactly what they asked for, we did that. Are you guys clear with this, all of you? So we solved 5, 9, and 10. I'll share this DDLs and DMLs for the same. Okay. All right, we'll connect again tomorrow and we'll try to solve 3, 4 more questions on the same lines. We'll see in the next class. I'll share the DDLs, DMLs.